Have you ever noticed how the more you try to prove your worth to someone, the less they seem to value you? What if the biggest mistake is not that he ignores you, but that you keep teaching him that he can? Machiavelli understood a truth that most people never learn. Respect is rarely given because you ask for it. It is given because people fear losing access to what they cannot easily replace. If a man no longer values you, chasing him will never fix the problem. The harder you hold on, the easier it becomes for him to let go. But there is another way. A quiet way. A way that changes the balance without begging, arguing, or demanding attention. Stay until the end, because what you are about to hear may completely change how you deal with people who take you for granted. Most people believe love grows through endless giving. They think if they become more patient, more available, more understanding, the other person will finally wake up and appreciate them. This sounds kind, but power does not work this way. Human nature does not reward what is always available. Human nature becomes blind to what never disappears. Imagine the sun. It shines every day, yet few people stop to admire it. But let the sun disappear for one day, and the whole world falls into panic. Presence loses value when it becomes expected. This is the first lesson. Never confuse constant availability with importance. The more predictable you become, the easier it is for others to forget your value. A man who knows you will always answer, always forgive, always stay, begins to believe you have nowhere else to go. This belief changes everything. He no longer feels lucky to have you. Instead, he feels entitled to your presence. Machiavelli observed rulers more carefully than most people observe their closest friends. He noticed that people respect what has limits. Unlimited generosity often creates unlimited disrespect. This does not happen because people are evil. It happens because people adapt. What is always there becomes invisible. What requires effort becomes desirable. Think about the beginning of any relationship. Every message matters. Every meeting feels exciting. Every conversation has energy, because both people fear losing the opportunity. Uncertainty creates attention. Effort creates value. But over time, one person often becomes too predictable. They answer immediately, cancel plans for the other, ignore their own goals, and slowly make another person the center of their world. At first, this feels like love. Later, it becomes dependence. Dependence changes the balance of power. The person who depends more always fears losing more. Fear makes people weak. Weakness invites neglect. This is not because someone plans to hurt you. It is because human beings naturally move toward what feels difficult to obtain and away from what feels guaranteed. Now ask yourself one question. Does he respect your time, or does he simply expect it? There is a huge difference. Respect comes with gratitude. Expectation comes with carelessness. When someone expects your presence without appreciating it, they stop investing in the relationship. Why should they? They already believe you will stay regardless of how they behave. Many people respond to this situation in the worst possible way. They become louder. They send longer messages. They explain their feelings again and again. They ask why things have changed. They demand answers. But every explanation reveals something dangerous. It reveals fear. Fear tells the other person they have more control than they realize. Power is often silent. Desperation is usually loud. Imagine a king who constantly reminds his people that he deserves respect. Would they admire him more? Probably not. A truly respected king does not spend his days convincing everyone of his importance. His actions speak before his words do. His presence carries weight because he does not chase approval. The same principle exists in personal relationships. The person who constantly asks, "Do you still love me?" slowly teaches the other person that reassurance is their responsibility. Over time, this becomes exhausting. Attraction cannot survive where emotional pressure replaces emotional freedom. Machiavelli believed appearances shape reality. Whether people agree or disagree, they react more strongly to what they see than what they hear. If a man sees that your happiness depends entirely on his attention, he unconsciously feels less pressure to earn your respect. But if he sees you living a meaningful life, growing, learning, laughing, and moving forward without waiting for his approval. Something unexpected happens. Curiosity begins to replace certainty. Curiosity is powerful because it creates questions. Why is she different now? Why does she seem calmer? Why is she no longer trying to convince me? Why does she appear stronger than before? The human mind hates unanswered questions. It wants closure. When you stop giving someone complete access to your emotions, you create space for mystery. Mystery should never become manipulation. Machiavelli never suggested pretending to be someone you are not. Instead, he understood that people reveal their true feelings only when they face the possibility of losing something valuable. Until then, many continue acting carelessly because they assume nothing will change. This is why endless warnings rarely work. If you repeatedly say, "One day I will leave but never," your words lose all meaning. Promises without action teach others that your boundaries are flexible. Once someone believes your boundaries can always move, they stop respecting them entirely. A boundary is not a threat. It is a decision. It does not shout. It does not beg. It simply exists. Strong people protect their peace before protecting another person's comfort. They understand that respect begins with self-respect. There is another mistake people make when they feel unappreciated. They compare themselves to others. They wonder if another woman is prettier, smarter, funnier, or more interesting. This comparison steals confidence. But confidence is not built by becoming someone else. Confidence grows when you remember your own standards. The moment your focus shifts from "how do I make him value me" to "does he deserve continued access to me," everything changes. The question itself changes your posture. Instead of standing before him asking for approval, you stand beside your own values deciding who earns your time. Notice how powerful individuals think. They do not chase every opportunity. They choose carefully. Scarcity creates importance. Attention becomes valuable when it is selective. Your energy works the same way. Give it freely to everyone, and few will appreciate it. Invest it wisely, and people begin recognizing its worth. Machiavelli often reminded readers that people judge by results. They may ignore your words, but they cannot ignore your transformation. If someone watches you become healthier, calmer, more disciplined, more successful, and emotionally stronger, they are forced to see you differently. Growth changes perception more effectively than arguments ever could. This is why revenge is usually a waste of time. Many people want the person who ignored them to suffer. They dream of making them jealous or guilty. But obsession with revenge keeps your attention locked on the very person who stopped valuing you. That means they still control your emotional world. Real strength breaks that control. Imagine carrying a heavy stone every day because someone insulted you years ago. Who suffers? Not the person who insulted you. You do. Emotional attachment to resentment is still attachment. Freedom begins when your energy returns to your own life. People often misunderstand silence. Silence is not punishment. Silence is clarity. It is choosing not to waste words where actions have already provided the answer. If someone repeatedly shows you that your effort means little to them, believe the behavior before believing the excuses. Behavior is the language people struggle to fake over long periods. Words can be rehearsed. Promises can be repeated. Behavior eventually reveals priorities. When a man truly values something, he protects it. He invests in it. He makes time for it even when life becomes difficult. He may not be perfect, but consistent effort always leaves evidence. If that evidence disappears completely, pretending otherwise only delays the truth. This truth can feel painful because hope is comforting. Hope whispers that maybe tomorrow everything will change. Maybe next week he will become different. Maybe one more conversation will finally open his eyes. Sometimes change happens, but change only becomes real when it appears through actions, not speeches. Machiavelli would ask a simple question. What benefits does he receive by staying exactly as he is, if he already enjoys your loyalty, attention, forgiveness, patience, and emotional support without giving equal effort? What reason does he have to change? Human behavior follows incentives more often than intentions. That is why your next move matters more than your next conversation. Talking about respect is easy. Living in a way that demands respect is far more powerful. Before anyone else changes, your own habits must change first. Only then does the balance begin to shift, and only then does someone who once overlooked your value begin to realize what they may actually lose. The greatest mistake people make after feeling ignored is believing they must create a stronger emotional reaction. They think louder words will finally be heard. They think another heartfelt message will suddenly make him understand everything he failed to see before. But Machiavelli understood something uncomfortable about human nature. People rarely change because they hear your pain. They change because reality changes around them. Until their comfort is disturbed, most people continue living exactly as they always have. This is why emotional chasing almost never works. Every time you explain why you deserve better without changing your behavior, you send two conflicting messages. Your words ask for respect, but your actions accept disrespect. Human beings always believe actions over words. If you continue accepting treatment that hurts you, eventually even you begin believing that it is all you deserve. Think about a merchant selling precious diamonds. Imagine if he begged strangers to take them for free. People would immediately question their value. Why is something so valuable being offered without limits? Yet when something is protected, carefully presented, and not available to everyone, people naturally assume it must be important. Your time, your attention, and your emotional energy work exactly the same way. Too many people give away their best qualities without expecting anything in return. They become available at every hour. They cancel important plans. They forgive repeated disrespect. They ignore broken promises. Then they wonder why they feel invisible. The answer is simple. Every relationship teaches people how to treat us. If your actions say, "No matter what you do, I will stay," then eventually, that becomes the rule they live by. Machiavelli believed that wise people never surrender their position through emotion alone. They observe first. They understand patterns. They make decisions based on reality instead of fantasy. Ask yourself honestly, is this one bad week, or has this become a repeated pattern? One mistake does not define a person, but repeated behavior reveals character. Many people spend years waiting for potential, instead of accepting reality. They fall in love with the person someone could become instead of the person standing in front of them today. Potential is comforting because it keeps hope alive. Reality is harder because it demands decisions. But your future will always be shaped more by reality than by imagination. Notice how confident people respond when they are taken for granted. They do not panic. They do not compete for attention. They quietly invest more energy into themselves than into convincing someone else. They improve their health. They strengthen their friendships. They build new skills. They focus on work. They create a life that remains meaningful whether one person stays or leaves. This is not about pretending you do not care. It is about refusing to let your entire identity depend on another person's approval. There is a huge difference. Real confidence does not mean feeling no pain. It means refusing to let pain control every decision you make. One of Machiavelli's greatest lessons was that dependence creates weakness. The more your happiness depends on one person's attention, the more power you unknowingly hand them. They may never ask for that power, but they will still have it. And once someone knows they control your emotions, they often stop appreciating the responsibility that comes with it. Freedom changes everything. A person who can walk away peacefully is impossible to control. This does not mean leaving over every disagreement. Mature relationships require patience and understanding. But there is a difference between patience and self-abandonment. Patience allows growth. Self-abandonment destroys dignity. Imagine standing before two doors. Behind one door is fear. Behind the other is self-respect. Fear whispers, "If I stop chasing, I will lose him forever." Self-respect whispers, "If I keep chasing, I may lose myself." Most people fear losing another person more than losing their own peace. That is why they remain trapped. Machiavelli would likely smile at this contradiction. He knew that people often sacrifice what they already possess while chasing what they cannot control. You already possess your dignity. You already possess your values. Yet many willingly trade these priceless things for uncertain affection. Another truth is difficult to hear. Sometimes people stop valuing you because they believe you no longer value yourself. Self-respect is contagious. So is insecurity. When you constantly apologize for existing, minimize your achievements, ignore your own needs, and accept treatment that hurts you, others unconsciously adjust their perception of your worth. This is why confidence cannot be faked forever. Expensive clothes, perfect photos, and carefully chosen words may impress people briefly, but everyday behavior eventually reveals your relationship with yourself. Do you protect your peace? Do you honor your promises to yourself? Do you keep healthy boundaries, even when they feel uncomfortable? These quiet decisions shape your life far more than dramatic speeches. There is a reason successful leaders speak less during moments of crisis. They understand that panic spreads quickly. Calm spreads even faster. Emotional stability creates trust. If every disagreement causes you to react impulsively, people begin expecting emotional chaos. But when your responses remain measured, thoughtful, and controlled, your presence gains weight. Machiavelli admired strategic thinking because strategy always looks beyond the present moment. Instead of asking, "How do I win today's argument?" ask, "What kind of relationship am I building over the next 5 years?" Small compromises, repeated every week, eventually become your normal life. Tiny acts of disrespect, accepted today, often become bigger acts tomorrow. Many people wait for one dramatic betrayal before leaving. They ignore hundreds of smaller warnings, because none of them feel serious enough on their own. But character is rarely revealed through one giant event. It is revealed through ordinary habits, repeated consistently over time. Pay attention to effort. Effort is honest. Someone who values you finds ways to stay connected, even during busy seasons. They may not always be available, but they communicate. They remember important moments. They notice when you struggle. They make adjustments because your happiness matters to them. Perfect behavior is impossible. Genuine effort is not. If effort disappears completely, while excuses continue growing, you already have your answer. The difficult part is accepting it. Acceptance does not mean bitterness. It means seeing clearly without inventing stories, to protect yourself from disappointment. Clarity is powerful because it frees you from false hope. Once you see reality, you can finally make decisions that protect your future, instead of defending your past. Many people become trapped by memories. They keep remembering how loving he was in the beginning. They replay old conversations. They hold on to promises made years ago. But memories cannot build tomorrow. Only present actions can do that. Machiavelli believed that wise people judge situations as they are, not as they wish them to be. This principle can save years of emotional suffering. Ask yourself, if I met this person today and knew nothing about our history, would I accept this behavior? If the answer is no, then history may be the only thing keeping the relationship alive. History is valuable, but it should never become a prison. There is another secret many people overlook. When you stop trying to force someone to value you, you begin discovering who truly does. Your world becomes larger. New friendships appear. New opportunities arrive. You notice people who appreciate your presence without making you fight for basic respect. Scarcity creates clarity. When your attention is no longer consumed by one person's indifference, you finally have enough emotional space to recognize genuine kindness elsewhere. Some people will notice your change immediately. Others will ignore it. That is not your responsibility. Transformation is not a performance for someone else's approval. It is an investment in your own future. Ironically, the less you seek validation, the more naturally respect begins to follow. People admire those who have direction. Purpose is attractive because it shows that your life has meaning beyond one relationship. When someone sees that your happiness comes from discipline, growth, meaningful work, loyal friendships, and inner peace, they realize they are no longer the center of your universe. That changes the emotional balance completely. Machiavelli knew that people protect what they fear losing. But there is something even more important. You should never become so focused on making someone fear losing you that you forget to ask whether keeping them is truly good for your life. Sometimes the greatest victory is not making someone change. Sometimes the greatest victory is changing yourself so completely that you no longer need them to. And when that happens, something remarkable occurs. Whether they return or not no longer decides your happiness, because you have already reclaimed the one thing that should never have been handed away in the first place, your own power. Now comes the question that changes everything. What if he never changes? What if you stop chasing, rebuild your confidence, protect your peace, and he still chooses to stay the same? Most people fear this possibility because they believe it means they have failed. Machiavelli would disagree. The greatest failure is not losing someone who refuses to value you. The greatest failure is losing yourself while trying to convince someone else that you deserve respect. Life has a strange way of revealing truth. When you remove constant attention, excuses disappear. If someone truly values you, they begin noticing your absence. They begin making an effort. They begin asking questions. But if nothing changes, then you have discovered something even more valuable than a relationship. You have discovered reality. Reality may hurt for a moment, but illusions steal years from your life. Many people stay trapped because they confuse familiarity with love. They have become so used to one person's presence that they cannot imagine another future. The unknown feels frightening. Even an unhappy relationship can feel safer than an uncertain beginning. This is one of the greatest tricks fear plays on the human mind. It convinces you that comfort is the same as happiness. Machiavelli understood that fear often controls people more effectively than chains. The chains are invisible. They are made from doubt, insecurity, and imagined disasters. What if nobody else wants me? What if I never find someone better? What if leaving is the biggest mistake of my life? These questions grow louder the longer you ignore your own worth. But ask yourself another question. What if staying is the biggest mistake? What if every month spent begging for respect is another month stolen from the life you could have built? Time is the only resource that never returns. Money can be earned again. Opportunities can appear again. Even broken confidence can be rebuilt. But yesterday is gone forever. This is why wise people guard their time more carefully than anything else. They understand that every day invested in the wrong person is a day unavailable for the right people, the right opportunities, and the right version of themselves. There is a quiet confidence that develops when you stop trying to control other people's choices. You realize something powerful. You cannot force someone to value you. You cannot force loyalty. You cannot force love. But you can choose your standards. You can choose your boundaries. You can choose where your energy goes. These choices belong to you alone. Machiavelli often wrote about control, but many misunderstand his message. They think control means controlling others. In reality, the strongest form of control begins within yourself. The person who controls their emotions cannot easily be manipulated. The person who controls their attention cannot easily be distracted. The person who controls their decisions cannot easily be pressured into accepting less than they deserve. Imagine two people standing in the same storm. One blames the wind. The other learns how to sail. Both face the same conditions, but only one gains strength from the experience. Pain itself does not create wisdom. Reflection does. Every disappointment carries a lesson, but only if you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and begin asking, "What is this teaching me?" Perhaps it is teaching you that love without respect eventually becomes suffering. Perhaps it is teaching you that kindness without boundaries becomes exploitation. Perhaps it is teaching you that your value cannot depend on another person's opinion. Whatever the lesson is, ignoring it guarantees that the same pattern will appear again with someone else. This is another truth that many people avoid. Relationships change, but unresolved habits travel with you. If you constantly seek validation, fear abandonment, and ignore disrespect, those patterns will follow you into every future relationship until you decide to change them. The problem is not always the people you meet. Sometimes the problem is the behavior you continue accepting. Machiavelli believed that preparation creates confidence. The strongest ruler was not the one who hoped nothing bad would happen. The strongest ruler prepared for every possibility. Your emotional life deserves the same wisdom. Build friendships that support you. Develop skills that make you independent. Create goals that excite you. Protect your health. Strengthen your mind. When your life becomes full, no single person can empty it. One of the greatest signs of emotional maturity is enjoying someone's presence without making them responsible for your happiness. Healthy relationships are partnerships, not rescues. They add to your life instead of becoming your entire life. If a man notices your growth and decides to become a better partner, welcome the change only if it is consistent. Do not fall in love with temporary effort. Anyone can change for a week. Real character is revealed through months of repeated actions. Watch what people do after the emotional conversation ends. That is where truth lies. Consistency is more valuable than promises. Quiet effort is more valuable than dramatic apologies. Respect shown every ordinary day is more valuable than affection displayed only after you threaten to leave. Sometimes people return because they genuinely realize your worth. Sometimes they return simply because they miss the comfort you provided. These are not the same thing. Missing convenience is not the same as respecting a person. Before opening the door again, ask yourself what has actually changed. Has the behavior changed? Have the habits changed? Has responsibility replaced excuses? If not, reopening the relationship simply reopens the same wound. There is no weakness in forgiveness. Forgiveness frees your heart from bitterness. But forgiveness does not require abandoning wisdom. You can forgive someone and still decide they no longer belong in your future. Peace does not always mean reconciliation. Sometimes peace means finally walking away without anger. Machiavelli knew that every decision carries a cost. Staying has a cost. Leaving has a cost. Speaking has a cost. Remaining silent has a cost. Wisdom is not avoiding every price. Wisdom is choosing the price that protects your future instead of destroying it. As your confidence grows, something interesting begins to happen. You stop needing everyone to like you. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop shrinking your personality to make others comfortable. This freedom feels strange at first because you spent so much of your life searching for approval. But once you experience it, you never want to return to the old way of living. People often ask, how do I make him regret losing me? That is the wrong question. A better question is, how do I build a life that I never regret living? The answer has nothing to do with revenge. It has everything to do with growth. Read books that sharpen your mind. Learn skills that increase your confidence. Spend time with people who celebrate your success instead of competing with it. Protect your physical health because a strong body supports a strong mind. Invest in your future with the same dedication you once invested in chasing someone else's attention. The greatest revenge is not making someone suffer. The greatest revenge is becoming so fulfilled that the need for revenge quietly disappears. At that moment, you finally become free. And here is the final lesson Machiavelli would leave with you. Never beg for place in someone's life. If your loyalty, honesty, kindness, and presence are not recognized, let your absence reveal their value. Those who truly care will meet your standards with consistent effort. Those who never intended to value you will simply drift away. Either outcome serves your future. Remember this whenever you feel tempted to chase someone who keeps pulling away. You are not asking for too much by expecting respect. You are asking the wrong person if they repeatedly refuse to give it. Your worth was never created by their attention, and it will never disappear because of their indifference. Walk with quiet confidence. Speak with self-respect. Protect your peace without guilt. Let your actions become stronger than your explanations. Because in the end, the people who deserve a place in your life will never require you to sacrifice your dignity just to keep them there. And the moment you truly understand that, you stop chasing approval, stop fearing rejection, and start living with the kind of strength that no one can take away. If this video helped you see things differently, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more timeless wisdom. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a comment below. What was the most powerful lesson you learned today? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.